Why do people say Frieren is boring? Because look at this scene.
Blue moon weed?
A flower grown in my homeland. They're truly beautiful. To be fair, they grow pretty heroes too.
Shall we get going then?
Frieren, I'd like to show you them someday.
Sure, if the chance arises. I had a feeling we'd find them here, but I wasn't expecting this. Seems the chance arose. At last.
I think this is one of the best scenes in modern anime. Yet the conversations I've been having about Frieren have been surprisingly divided. Some say it's among their favorite anime, and others say it's dull, uneventful, and boring. So in this video, we're going to look at why there's this massive split in opinion when it comes to Frieren, and we'll show you how Frieren is not boring, if you're paying attention. Sure, Frieren doesn't have the catchy intro music of Mashle, or the mogging of Solo Leveling. It doesn't have the angsty romance of Dandadan, or the aura farming of Jujutsu Kaisen. But what it does have is a deep commitment to the sincere exploration of what it means to live. Now, some people would probably say that compared to the anime I just mentioned, that sounds pretty boring. Frieren is a perfect example that anime is a medium and not a genre. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to creating engaging anime. I think that what Frieren does well, it does better than almost anything out right now. Because Frieren is very different from the other mainstream anime that have taken over. It's more reflective, more concerned with the journey over the destination. So I can totally understand why, for some, it's simply not what they're looking for. But I don't think anime lovers should skip Frieren. And if it's not what you're looking for right now, I would highly recommend adding it to your watch list for later. Because not only do I not think Frieren is boring, I think it offers a truly rewarding anime experience. I think a lot of the problems people have with Frieren can be resolved through a shift in perspective. Because I think Frieren has less in common with these other popular anime and more in common with something like Lord of the Rings.
So what is it that people love about Frieren? And what does that have to do with Lord of the Rings? And I promise you, it's not that they both have elves and dwarves and magic. I actually think there's a lot of overlap in how Frieren and Lord of the Rings are received. I think for most people, they'll look at Frieren and see a masterpiece, much like Lord of the Rings. But both do still have their detractors. And I think a lot of the criticism's the same.
Those fucking Hobbit movies were boring as hell. All it was a bunch of people walking. 3 movies of people walking to a fucking volcano.
Granted, there's a lot of walking in both Frieren and Lord of the Rings. The action scenes in both actually take up a relatively small amount of the total runtime, especially in comparison to all the trekking. But there's a reason for that. All the walking around and talking lets us better understand these characters. Because while in some stories, the characters facilitate the plot, in both Frieren and Lord of the Rings, the characters exist to explore the philosophy. Most of what is being explored in Frieren has nothing to do with the plot points. Frieren is the story of what happens after the journey's ended. It's the search for meaning and connection to your achievements, and most importantly, understanding the relationships forged along the way. The conflict in Frieren is not any specific quest or destination. It's Frieren's pursuit of connection with the lives of the people around her, and the realization that she should have cherished past moments more than she did. I think that resonates with so many people right now. In the same way this exchange from the Fellowship of the Rings resonates with people.
I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
I think the thing that makes Lord of the Rings so captivating, beyond all the obvious technical, cinematic, and storytelling achievements, is that it feels reassuring. like it's imparting wisdom and speaking to the things we question and need answers to, which can mean that it needs long breaks in action to give these moments time to develop. Is it boring? Absolutely not. It's just fascinating in a different way. I think the same is true for Frieren, like in this scene, where they explore why we choose to help one another.
What's your motivation for helping people, Himmel?
I'm a hero, of course.
That's not really a motivation.
Tough question. Speaking frankly, I might do it for me. So that when I leave this world, my name lives on in the hearts of the people I impacted. That's why we're here after all. For to live is to be known. To live is to be remembered.
What do you suppose I should do for someone to remember me?
You should change their life, even if it's only in some small way. I would try that and hope for the best.
In both Frieren and Lord of the Rings, the thing that makes them so special is how they so effortlessly speak to the deep, true things in each of us. We are all dropped into this chaotic world, and it's up to us to make sense of things. Frieren and Lord of the Rings are both examples of entertainment not meant to help us escape these feelings, but to help us navigate them. Now look, there's nothing wrong with escapism, and I think it makes perfect sense why some people looking for some raw, entertainment-based anime might see Frieren and feel it's a little bit dry. In the same way that people might find Lord of the Rings dry compared to something like Pirates of the Caribbean.
I think this feeling of Frieren being slow or dull is probably reinforced by the fact that Frieren requires active viewing. Entertainment today seems to be heading in, broadly speaking, one of two directions, with the greatest distinction being whether they're created for active or passive viewing. I think this is sort of a scale, with most forms of entertainment fitting in somewhere between these two directions. On the extreme end of the passive side of the scale, you have second screen viewing content. The type of content that never interrupts your scrolling and racks up watch hours while siphoning just enough of your attention to remind you you are consuming. I think the problem with second screen viewing is that it has created this downward spiral between audiences and creators. Audiences recognize the declining quality in storytelling, and on some level know that what they're watching is not worth their full attention. So even someone who wants to actively engage with their entertainment finds it lacks the depth needed to make that rewarding and eventually pulls out their phone. Creators see that they get away with their ever-declining stories and see that people are still watching and continue to pump out low-effort and low-investment slop. Not only does this lessen the impact entertainment can have on the audience, it also trains the audience to expect less from their movies and shows. And then something like Frieren comes along. I can see why after streaming back-to-back series, none of which command or deserve your active attention, someone would throw on Frieren and assume they can watch it the same way. The problem is, Frieren is the antithesis of second screen content. It requires active attention, and if you aren't paying attention, you can easily miss the story. Frieren's story unfolds through nuance and subtlety. It's the perfect example of showing instead of simply telling. It creates this rich environment where you feel rewarded for giving the show the attention it deserves. Much of the story and meaning in Frieren is revealed through a pause, a memory, or a slight change in facial expression. If you're distracted, you will miss crucial story developments. It requires active investment, and in return, you get to experience this amazing journey of self. Because Frieren is more introspective than a lot of the popular anime currently out. And because it cannot be thrown on in the background, I think this has led some people who would probably love Frieren underestimating it. I think it has led to people noticing Frieren's more scenic approach to storytelling and mistakenly interpreting it as nothing ever happening in Frieren. Because that is one of the complaints I've heard most. That Frieren is sweet, but that nothing ever happens and therefore people lose interest. And I could not disagree more with this assessment and want to point out how absurd a claim it actually is. You're literally seeing Frieren's memories, which span multiple human lifetimes, the highlights of which involve her quest to defeat the Demon King and her meeting of multiple historical figures who helped shape the world and who Frieren is today. I think a great deal happens in Frieren, But I think it just comes down to what people mean by happening and if they are actively paying attention. Whenever I hear this complaint, it actually reminds me of this scene from Adaptation.
Nothing happens in the world? Are you out of your fucking mind? There's war, corruption, every fucking day. Somewhere in the world, somebody sacrifices his life to save somebody else. Every fucking day, someone somewhere takes a conscious decision to destroy someone else. People find love, people lose it.
I think it's safe to say Frieren has it all. Not only is it set in a charming fantasy world filled with magical creatures, on a fundamental level, it runs the gamut of the human experience. Through a fantasy veneer, it reflects the very essence of what it means to live and be human. It's about love and loss and all-consuming goals. It's about falling out of love with your purpose and about learning to find a way to recapture that spark that gave your life meaning. It's about appreciating the time you spend with the people that matter, but also about the regret we feel when we fail to live in the moment. It's about how the most important parts of our lives can pass us by while we focus on other things. It's about remembering the ones we lose, but also about remembering who we were when we were with them.
I think just covering those themes alone prevents Frieren from being boring. But what I think really makes Frieren such a rewarding watch is how the story unfolds and how the anime puts trust in the audience. Frieren is a masterclass in non-linear storytelling. Instead of spoon-feeding the audience, Frieren lets the audience piece together her 10-year quest to defeat the Demon King, while we experience Frieren's new pilgrimage to retrace her past and understand people. The audience experiences Frieren's memories and realizations as she does. It feels spontaneous and organic. You feel less like an outside viewer and more like you're sharing in her revelations. I feel like Frieren is aimed at a more reflective audience, one that wants to get wrapped up in the process of self-discovery. Because Frieren jumps back and forth between what's happening now and what Frieren remembers from the past 1,000 years she's been alive, it does take a little more concentration. But I also think it makes it more exciting, and some might say it's the best way to tell a story.
I think the best way to tell a story is by starting at the end, briefly, then going back to the beginning, then periodically returning to the end, maybe giving different characters' perspectives throughout, just to give it a bit of dynamism. Otherwise, it's just sort of a linear story.
Frieren lays out subtle and sometimes not so subtle hints at where the story is headed, but often confirmation comes from memories and minute reactions or expressions. Piecing together the story is rewarding and offers a different form of excitement. It feels like the eureka moments you get when a puzzle comes together. The show sets up little details that seem insignificant, things that are easy to write off as quirks or simple characterizations, like Frieren collecting spells, only for it to turn out that there is a much deeper meaning that ties into the overall theme of the show. And these revelations can take multiple episodes to come to light. Frieren prioritizes rewarding diligent and engaged viewers. And in a way, the audience's experience matches that of Frieren on her journey. Frieren's initial quest serves as a cautionary tale of what happens when you fail to embrace the moment. It becomes the great regret of Frieren's life that she missed so much by not making a greater effort to understand those around her. And this regret leads to her making a concerted effort to engage with her new party, so that she can really know them, but also this allows her to better understand herself. In the same way, the audience only gains substantive meaning by taking their time with the show and paying attention to the characters. And just like Frieren learns, sometimes noticing something as simple as a look can redefine the meaning of an entire relationship. I think the fact that the audience experience parallels Frieren's journey is one of the things that makes Frieren so special. But I also think it can be what throws people off at first. Look, I think this is a pretty special time for anime lovers. It feels, in many ways, that anime as a whole is getting the recognition it deserves. But of the big anime right now, I think Frieren does give off a very different vibe than Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, Solo Leveling, or even One Piece. And I think it comes down to expectations. The recent explosion in anime popularity has built some preconceived ideas of what type of stories we should expect from anime. Many of the most popular anime are action-focused shonen, and there's nothing wrong with that. I really enjoy many of these anime and definitely see why people gravitate towards them. especially given how the theatrical releases of 2025 felt. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, Chainsaw Man the Reze arc, and Jujutsu Kaisen Execution felt like events. All three were action-packed spectacles. And I think this type of anime has set a high bar for what audiences should expect in terms of animation style and quality. I think the reason some people have gotten caught up in this idea that Frieren is boring is because it's not as flashy as the other big anime right now. Frieren's just way more subtle.
I actually think it's a nice palate cleanser. In my opinion, Frieren would fit perfectly between watching Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen. If you think about it, many of these anime are accused of aura farming. While I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing, that doesn't mean it's a necessity. But if that's what you're expecting, Frieren might come across a bit too discreet. Probably because Frieren is the anti-aura farming anime. And I don't mean that Frieren is without badass moments. I actually want to play a clip, but don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched the series yet. So you'll just have to trust me when I say Frieren does have badass moments. It's just far more selective about when they appear. Whereas Jujutsu Kaisen has near constant narrations reminding us of the power and superiority of Satoru Gojo.
No human is able to stop her bird strike, with the sole exception of Satoru Gojo, of course.
In Frieren, the titular character does not flaunt her power. In fact, she actively suppresses it. Now I know some people get annoyed by aura farming in anime, but I actually think it's awesome. But I think that it, and all the high-octane fights, and the over-the-top explosive reactions can be mistaken as a rule of anime and not a stylistic choice. Not every anime is going to hit you in the same way. But that's what makes anime such a great medium. It can tell just about any story and in any style. Those differences are not what separates good from boring anime. I think it's just the difference in how they connect with the audience emotionally. Just like a rom-com or a drama isn't boring compared to the latest Fast and the Furious installment, they're just entertaining in a different way. I think that because, with the exception of Frieren, the biggest anime in the world right now tend to skew more action-heavy, that has created the belief, especially I think from newer anime enjoyers, that that is the standard of a good anime. While Frieren may lack some of the flash of other anime, it's never boring. It just chooses to connect with the audience on a different frequency. I think that Frieren, standing alongside Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Solo Leveling as one of the most popular anime in the world, is a great reminder of how diverse the medium truly is. Beyond anime, I think Frieren is a reminder not all entertainment is created equal. In the era of passive consumptive viewing, Frieren stands out. It commands your full attention. And if you give it your full attention, you'll find a story of intense thematic depth, with characters who reward you for looking closer on a journey that at some point will resonate with us all.